International Retail Conference. I'd like to introduce design thinking. May I know the hands of people who have seen design thinking in one form or another? Yes, and I'm sure you've seen this. This is the Stanford B-School's design thinking process, and it's a 5-step process. There are some formats that have more than 5, but I think this is what's widely used. So there's empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. When I stumbled upon design thinking, I was using it for development work, social innovation and development work. And therefore, I have a particular fondness for its twin from the IDEO School of Thought, which is basically, the founder also teaches at Stanford. And I'd like to think I'm advocating human-centered design. And it seems different, but it's basically the same. First, you have your inspiration phase. Shane used the word discover. So I'll use that word again. It's really discover and empathy. And ideation is when we try to craft, try to isolate and articulate a sharper challenge. Because oftentimes the first challenge that comes to us isn't the challenge, and it reveals itself only after we've done our empathy work. And then we implement or rapidly prototype to check if our assumptions are valid. So why human-centered design in a retail setting? And I think the context is the same, regardless of where I make this presentation. It's because 95% of innovations fail, and 80% of startups fail. Now, if you talk about product launches, it pretty much hovers in the same area. And I wrote, sorry, the sources are so small. You know how graphic designers like to make things really small. But it's an article from Forbes. And there are many reasons for failure, but I drilled down, I distilled it to the constant, which is there is no market need. Now that's very strange. Everybody would say, it's so strange. We always do our due diligence every time we release something into the market. And believe me, 25 years in the marketing industry, I know that it's true. Right? We are not reckless, we're very responsible. But why is it the number one reason for failure is there is no market need? And this I have discovered when I left the industry. Because the difference with using design thinking or using the lenses of human-centered design is we put an emphasis on human needs versus, and this word was used earlier as well, artificially manipulated desires. And this drives HCD, or human-centered design, to depart from the status quo. I run this workshop a lot, and the question that comes up is, why human-centered design? Is there any other kind of design? Why, yes, there's profit-centered design, there's agenda-centered design, there's budget-centered design. There are many centered designs, and oftentimes we only check back and validate after we put forward we put other things at the center of our design. So this is one of the things I felt personally blown away by. It's because I have been in the industry of creating design. Yeah? So how does human-centered design create new experiences? And let me show you the 3 lenses of human-centered design, and they appear in the manner that they do for a reason, because we always start with desirability. We always start with desirability. So we don't start with asking, do we have the money for it? Do we have the technological know-how? The first question we always want is, do people want this? And not that we want it, do people really want it? And I will tell you, if you start asking that question, you will unearth so much insight, and I will go through how to do it in a bit. And at the intersection of these industry lenses, you will find solutions to challenges that are human-centered. And if you get over the barrier of human desirability, your chances of success increase. It must be humanly desirable, it must be economically viable, and it must be technologically feasible. So it's not one or the other. If I may share, we often start here. How much profit do we make? Is it third quarter? Is it budget season? Because I know my budget season was third quarter before, right? So I'm promising the profits for next year today. So I just have to figure out how to make that money without asking questions, is this the right thing to do? But I know I have to submit a 24 increase in margin, etc. Margin, healthy margin, etc. So I know what it feels like to run a business. And that's why I say I was blown away, because we never really considered, can we make the 24% increase in margin? Do we know if people like the products? We just figure it out. We just artificially manipulate desire after the fact. Now, how do we do this? And I started as a copywriter, so the first hat I ever wore in the industry was a creative's hat, called the Mad Hatter's hat. And so when my former boss, Craig Davis, he used to be the global creative director of J. Walter Thompson, said this, I could have taken offense, because it was always creativity is king, right? And I came from a time where the creative talent was highly valued among others. But I realized before you can be creative, don't even think about being creative if you haven't empathized. Because your creative ideas will just become richer, more authentic, more resonant if they're founded on human needs, if they're addressing human needs. So before being creative, you need to empathize. You need empathy first. And this is important to me because I thought I was empathizing. I thought I was doing my focus groups. I thought I was doing my UAIs. I thought I was having all of these research tools that would validate my thinking. But apparently, when I did more study on empathy, there are three kinds of empathy. There is cognitive empathy. I know how you're feeling. You're probably hungry by this time, right? I know. And then there's affective empathy, which is I feel what you're feeling. Unfortunately, I don't feel hungry right now because I ate before I left the house. So, but you have to feel what the other person is feeling. And there is tactical empathy. I don't know if I have it here. Yes, I do. It was very hard to research tactical empathy because it's not in the normal resources and bibliography that I normally crack open. Tactical empathy is the act, and I found it in law enforcement and big game hunting. It's the active intelligence gathering of a professional investigator who is attempting to learn what a person is thinking in an attempt to learn how to generate voluntary compliance, cooperation, and collaboration. This is the kind of empathy we use in the industry. I mean, let's not make any excuses for the kind of empathy we use. But I feel that the most effective empathy that you could employ is affective empathy, because only when you feel what other people feel, then you know what to do. This is interesting. Peter Drucker said, the customer rarely buys what the company thinks it's selling. So do you think you bought shoes? Do you think you're selling shoes? Someone said, when you go on Facebook Marketplace, you're looking at shoes. Do you think a shoe store is selling shoes? Or maybe that's not the question I should ask. Do you think the reason why you buy shoes is to cover your feet? Does anyone buy shoes to cover their feet? No, right? So why do we buy the shoes that we buy? So for many reasons apparently, many reasons. I stole this off the internet. I couldn't find who to attribute it to. So this is your potential customer. This is your product. People don't buy products. They buy better versions of themselves. This awesome person who can do rad stuff, right? You do not sell this. This is not what your business sells. This is what your business sells. So if you put it in that context, when you talk about retail and you enter a store that's full of shoes, are we really selling shoes? We're here to talk about the future of retail and how is it that we can avoid the likes of Toys R Us. How can we avoid that? I think Toys R Us got stuck on the notion that they sell toys. Would you agree? So when people could buy toys elsewhere, then you see this really sad picture of this giraffe shutting down the last Toys R Us store in the US. That's sad. They don't buy brands or products. They hire solutions to get things done. Like, they want to be that awesome person, right? For instance, if you're no longer providing a solution, you get fired. So why do you think Kodak got fired and Instagram instead got hired? What do you think? What do you think was the job to be done? Sorry. Yeah. Yes, I like yeses. Why do you think they hired Instagram and fired Kodak? Anyone? Make a guess. Sorry. Because?
You don't have to shell out some money every time you're going to take a photo.
Alright, so it costs one, because analog stuff costs a lot of money, right? But that's sharing. Yes, it's sharing. And let's add a little bit more, because we could say you could share your old analog photographs in those sticky photo albums that are gathering dust under your coffee table at home, right? That's one way of sharing. But sharing in what sense? Someone said something? Some? Sharing? On time, in real time. So immediately, the moment I'm having the sensation, the moment I'm facing my pasta, the moment I'm having my pasta done, I don't know, well, you always share stuff, right? So instantaneous sharing is what people suddenly were gravitating towards. That's the task people wanted to do, and therefore Kodak was failing miserably on that part. There's one more, which is actually being able to filter it and make it look prettier than it usually is. Yeah. So you might find, I highly encourage you to look into jobstobedone.org. There's a wealth of resources there that explain what jobs to be done is. I have very little time, so I can't go into super detail on how jobs to be done is, but I highly encourage you to do some research on your own. This, on the other hand, is available online. I think it's about $50. So these are jobs to be done card. They help you interview. They help you interview to get to the job to be done. So you think it's I don't know, a shirt? Are they really buying a shirt? What is the job to be done of a shirt? Because the cards are there for you to surface 3 jobs to be done. Oftentimes there are more than one jobs to be done. There's more than one job to be done. And there's an emotional job to be done, and a functional job to be done. Shoes, something to protect my feet. let's say Yeezys, okay? Is that right? Yeezys, those things are supposed to be really cool right now. What do you think the emotional job to be done of Yeezys are? The social is something that you are, that's beyond yourself. So if the functional job to be done was to cover their feet, protect their feet, what's the emotional and what's the social job to be done? Oh no, let's use iPod. What do you think the functional job to be done of iPods are? Sorry? Play music, right? That's a very, very functional job to be done, which used to be done by Walkman, if there are Xers in the room, yeah? And boom boxes earlier than that, just to play music. But after that, but if it's just to play music, there are many formats and platforms to play music on. But the iPod has an emotional job to be done. What do you think the emotional, just make a random guess. What do you think the emotional job to be done is? When you're carrying an iPod and then she's carrying a Walkman or a Discman, so it's a little more advanced status symbol. So there is, that's social, so it's a badge. It's a badge, it becomes a social badge. In fact, those white headphones, the early release white headphones, there were many anecdotes where people using regular MP3s would replace their black headphones with white headphones, so it just gives the signal that they were using iPods, because it was a badge of maybe status, maybe I'm cool, you know, privilege. It was a badge. What's the emotional job to be done, you think? What can an iPod do for you personally that regular Walkman can't? Play more music. 1,000 songs in your pocket was the line used then, right? But more than that, yes, you have 1,000 songs in your pocket. What else do you have in your pocket? And Spotify is really good at this, I think. Spotify. Sorry? What? Play on demand? Play on demand what? Kunyari, you're riding a bus or your car. And yeah, playlist, exactly. Because iPod suddenly gave you a soundtrack to your life. My commuting sounds pa talaga eh. I mean, my music, my tunes, yeah, my commuting tunes, my running tunes. So it gave you a playlist to your life. So it's not a music player. It is and it's not. And that's the reason why Walkman was fired. I also suggest you looking up Latitude. I think it's a storytelling consultancy, and I borrow heavily from them. I teach in UP, so I take a lot of my lectures from them. And this is, welcome to the age of transmedia storytelling. So we're talking about empathy. So how do people want their stories to be told to them? Latitude says that there are 4 audience archetypes. Maybe they have updated this, and I haven't been updating myself, but they say that there are seekers who are the most passive. They want to go deeper into the story world, all the way to the most active, which are the players. They want to bring the story out in the real world. These are the 4 dimensions: impact, integration, interactivity, and immersion. And the intensity of color shows you what's important to the particular archetype. This is important because as you design experiences for people, for your customers, do you know what sort of experiences they want? Remember, I said we always start with empathy. Not just because your creative director says, oh, it would be great to start using the Oculus Rift. Why are we using the Oculus Rift? It's because if your creative director knows his persona, it's because we are targeting the player archetype. This is available online, and my deck will be made available to you as well. Right? So it's open source. Everything is open source. Yeah. So understand that there are different kinds of shoppers. You would know that. You've done personas on your shoppers, but more than shopper persona, know that there are also different kinds of audiences. And the different types of audiences determine what sort of experience you start to create. These are the hardcore cosplayers and those who put up lightsaber academies. These guys. And these guys, I'm a seeker. I took the test. And apparently while Walking Dead is playing on television, I'm reading the comics online. So I go really deep into the story, but you won't catch me running in a Walking Dead marathon or something like that. They say that, right? You won't catch me dead running a Walking Dead marathon. Okay, anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to make a point. Please know who you are creating experiences for. What do these experiences look like? I found this really good film, and I'd like to share it with you. I think it's about 2 minutes. Get the idea. Okay, stop. This is from a demo film from Magic Leap. It's way ahead of everything else in terms of mixed reality. I think it got more than $1 billion venture funding, and it's super secret. You would get invited to the launch, but you're supposed to give your firstborn child if you spill, or take ninja pictures like Rishi. Yeah, but the point I'm making is, it's not about the technology. Okay, I may have shown you Magic Leap, but it will always be about who are you creating the experience for, and obviously bringing things to life and bringing things into the real world belongs to the player and the two archetypes over here. So know that the technology is starting to emerge. This is incredibly expensive right now. I think it's in a little shy of $3,000 US. So I don't think it's mainstream. But know that these technologies will be made available soon. But again, I have to say, it's not about the technology. It's about the experience that the person wants to have. My first interaction with certified digital marketers is they made me speak on 360 marketing. Was that right? 360 marketing. And I said, that's kind of old. Okay.
That was years ago.
That was years, no man, this was like 3 years ago. And I said, let's talk about 21st century marketing. And I decided, I looked up what the definition was, but I decided to write my own. I told you I teach, right? So I write my own. But I feel like this is a culmination of my experience, my research, and my understanding of how people want to be related, how people and brands need to start relationships. So 21st century marketing, as far as I'm concerned, they're brand and human interactions. No, I didn't say communications. I said interactions. And interactions could mean experiences, can mean communications, can mean Facebook pages, but these are brand and human interactions. I chose my words very carefully. I did not say customer. I said human interactions that are wholly respectful of. Okay, so interrupting me checking CNN or the weather with I was about to say the brand, with a burger ad is not nice. Okay? It's not being respectful and responsive to, if your data tells you there is a need, then how do you respond and how fast can you respond? Then two, the new set of shared values that have emerged from the internet's creation of virtual societies. What do I mean by virtual societies? It's not about being Filipino or Singaporean anymore because the internet has dissolved all lines of time and space. So now we have, shall we say, the fixie gear bike society. And you can have someone from Africa and from China all in that society. So now societies are being created and they're not bound by time and space, yeah, and geographies. Okay, can we play this? Oh wait, and knowing that, move back please. Okay, knowing that, how then do we see retail of the future?
I think high engagement is probably the area where in-store is still going to be extremely relevant in the future because consumers are social by nature.
As humans, we are always going to have a need for social connection. And while some of that can be substituted online, virtually, projection, and that sort of thing, my hypothesis is that is what is going to get people out of their homes, is the social element, the transcendence element, that self-actualization element.
The question then is, if you don't need to go to a place to get stuff, what do you need to go to a place for? And that's kind of what we call higher engagement things, the experience, advice, consultation, fun. It's moved beyond transactions into real relationships. That's what business space is going to be used for. You don't need to go to a store to buy a sweater or a shirt or a widget or a bottle of detergent. But you do need human contact to help you through some more complex purchases.
You can't compete on proximity, selection, and price anymore. Big stores close by with a lot of stuff that's cheap. Now you're really competing on experience, you're competing on products, and you're competing on urgency. And what we like is this idea where when you walk in, the store kind of just comes alive around you. And instead of asking you to have your head down on your mobile device, you're keeping your head up. And the store's becoming your store in the perfect way that's really elegant, that's not distracting you from the products, it's letting you focus on it.
The retailers that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to provide that experience in store that customers can't get somewhere else.
So, going back to Toys R Us, what do you think, and you don't need to answer, but give it a thought, what do you think the job to be done of a toy store is? Right? Makes you wonder, how could Toys R Us turn the business around? When Toys R Us recognized, because their data showed them, that no one was buying toys in their store anymore, how could they have saved themselves? Maybe reduce the number of outlets, yes, but in terms of reinvention, how could they have reinvented themselves? I wonder about that sometimes because really just buying a toy, I can do anywhere. I can do at the airport. But that's interesting because I also did study personas of toy buyers. So they could do it at the airport, they could do it online. But why do you think they need to go to an actual brick and mortar toy store if it's not to buy toys? Right? Just give it a thought. If we could reinvent ourselves, if we're selling shirts, if we're selling food, why do people need to go to us? And I like the thought of it. It's social connection, it's transcendence, it's highest human potential, actual self-actualization. So these values are suddenly coming up. So remember my definition of 21st century marketing? It's this new set of values that are being brought about through the internet's creation of virtual societies. This is on Harvard Business Review, so you can Google this. So what's the job to be done of a condo unit? Yeah? So what do we think the job to be done in the condo unit is? Functional. Functional. It's a place to stay, right? The place is shelter. So all the attributes of shelter, safety, security, etc., etc. So they didn't name the brand, but they said that sales were not picking up as fast as they could, as they would like it to be. So they commissioned a study to find out what the job to be done of the condo unit was. Because once it's not meeting your expectations, then you start guessing, right? Why am I not selling? Are my salesmen, are the sales, is my sales support not doing their jobs? Should I put more bay windows? So we start guessing. Jobs to be done is a causal mechanism, it's not a correlation. If you know exactly why people are moving into condos. So this is the homeowner story. After so many interviews, they stumbled on this gem. The moment we figured out what to do with the dining table, I was free to move. What is the significance of a dining table? Apparently, the significance of a dining table was it represented family. Right? Because it was where we always catch up on your day, sometimes have little arguments, sometimes wrap gifts, and when I get home, I will wrap textbooks on my dining table. So it just represents so much emotion that moving, if I can't move my dining table into my condo, I'll think about it. I'll think about it really, really hard. So when they found out that the job to be done statement was, I'm hiring this condominium because I'm not merely moving homes, but I'm moving on with my life, then we know what to do. What they did, they created they offered free storage units for 6 months, so they could wean themselves from the dining table. Or for those who insisted on having the dining table with them, they redesigned the units. So purposeful, it's purposive. It's not guessing. It's not, let's add some more A&P budget. Let's have those people putting flyers in your face when I'm walking in the mall. So it's purposive because you know that the reason why they're moving to a condo unit is because they're either downsizing or they're moving on with their lives, or one emotional reason or another. Then you can react accordingly. I like the presentation on reinventing the mall because it starts with, what do people want to do? What do we feel people will value? Then the design comes afterwards. So, time check, 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
A lot went into building Sweetwater, I'll tell you that. We conceived of the idea just because the theme of Westworld and the idea of it is that it's immersive entertainment. So to us, it seemed like a no-brainer to actually build and extend that story narrative to the real world.
South by Southwest has always been about experiences, people emerging into brands and going into different activations that have happened. We do think this is one of the largest things that's ever happened at South by Southwest. We've literally built a western town in the middle of Texas.
We had lots of people involved in this production, obviously. It takes a village to build one.
We got a call from HBO. There was an idea to kind of build something around Westworld, and we took on that challenge. We actually looked and came down here to find a site that we could do it. We actually came down here and flew drones over what was a ghost town that we ended up transforming into the town of Sweetwater to kind of get a sense of what would be possible within it.
Westworld is a huge priority for us, and we think, the show lends itself to such big ideas and big concepts, and we have such a rabid fan base that are, looking for experiences and ways we can build out this in-world universe that John Nolan and Lisa Joy have done such an amazing job at creating. how can fans continue to explore the narrative? How can they interact with the characters? How can we as marketers give them little breadcrumbs and teases for season 2? Some fun stuff, for I think casual fans that come to the park, they'll have a great time. They'll listen to some music, eat some local Austin food, have a drink. But you'll have fans that are going to be scouring the park, reading every sign, letters from the post office, trying to suss out clues for season 2, just because we've trained our audience to know that there are little crumbs to leave out. So the park is actually covered in Easter eggs. So those lucky fans will find them will get a taste of season 2.
It is the ultimate experience. You come in, there's actors, there's music, there's Easter eggs, there's so much stuff going on here. You kind of envelope yourself inside of Westworld.
What I like about this was even if they know they have rabid fans, they also are respectful of those in the whole spectrum of audiences. So you may just come and treat it like a regular theme park, but for those who know the Easter eggs and all that, there's something for them. So I like the cost, even if it's just one event, the experience is customized. And I have a particular interest in transmedia storytelling, and I don't know if you heard that I put up a consultancy for transmedia storytelling because I feel we need to learn how to engage fans together. I have a few more minutes. I'd like to leave you with a few words, maybe some of my own learnings. In a shareholder value obsessed climate, we forgo growth for profit, customer needs for product intrinsics, and human stories for brand stories. So I'd like to end with this. Give me the experience I want and not what you want me to experience. So thank you very much. So if I have a question and answer, I will